Welcome to A Comic a Day, and this month we are celebrating the birth month of my favorite comic book company, Aftershock Comics. They turned 2 this year, and my god has it been an absolutely brilliant 2 years since. But you'll see what I mean this month. As always, links to buy these comics are in the description, and become a patron to help support the Comic Archivist family of channels. Warning, massive spoilers are massive this month. On with the show. Second Sight number 6, Line of Sight. Toni has never done any drugs. She's never even had a cigarette. She even swore off booze after trying champagne once. Yet there she is, a chick dressed in her punk best, popping mushrooms in hope they'll help her see where her dad is. She has no idea how many to take, and, well, 15 minutes later, she's definitely on a trip. However, her plan sorta works as she enters her dad's mind, and luckily, Ray can talk to her too. Through Ray's eyes, we see Inspector Deacon. Wills is somewhere else, and there's a guy with a gun that Ray doesn't know who he is. Deacon looks through the files on the flash drive and calls someone to say that the files really are that damaging. Then he turns his attention to Ray. He gives his speech about the reason the UK has been such a great place, even if it's not as good as it once was, is because of the Wednesday Club. And he knows they're scum, but those indiscretions of theirs was just a small give and are in the past. Then he asks if Toni has copies of the files. Ray stiffs him on an answer, so Gary, that'd be the dick with the gun, starts beating him up. Toni hops out of Ray's head though, showing a bit more control than Ray ever did with the second sight power, and focuses to jump into Gary. She tries as she might to get him to stop, but to no avail. However, Deacon stops the beating since he's just trying to get answers from Ray. Since it doesn't matter if Toni has copies of the files or not, she needs to die as it is. Ray says that there are thousands of copies, and if anything happens to Toni, they get leaked regardless. And luckily, Gary looks out the window so Toni can see which street they're on. Elsewhere, Callahan notices that there's a van watching the house all day before Toni, who snuck in through the bedroom window. Oh, come on, Hein. You could have made an easy reference if it was the bathroom window she snuck in. But hey, different generations, I guess. She needs Callahan's help to save her father, and after revealing that he's had a gun in the house to the ire of the missus, Callahan hugs her, and he and Toni sneak over the back fence. They get to the mansion relatively fast and get to the room with Ray and the baddies almost equally as fast. So Callahan holds his gun on him, and Gary holds his gun to Callahan. Toni frees Ray, but now we're at the standoff bit where it's time to negotiate. Deacon gets a call and tells his bosses that they should enact the solution he talked about. What solution? Literally we don't have to kill you if the files don't get released. Ray is all for burying the files, but Toni is young and idealistic. So Deacon lets her see that if the files do go public, Ray and Toni won't be the first to die. He shows a list of names, including Alice, the assumed love interest, though I would really like to see that we find out towards the end they got secretly married or something. Either way, the first name on the list is already crossed off. Jane Callahan. Over with Jane, 2 men shove their way into her house, punting her cat before she tries fighting back, but it's already over. One of the men grabs a candlestick off the mantel and bashes her skull in. Ray and Toni both feel this. Deacon says that as long as the list stays buried, the Wednesday Club shall remain inactive. Mutually assured destruction, basically. Callahan sees the look on Ray and Toni and asks what happened. But now, here's my impression of Callahan being played by Brad Pitt before Ray takes the gun away. What's on the list? Oh, what's on the list? What's on the fucking list? Or something like that. Ray takes Callahan's gun, and I truly wish I didn't have to spoil this ending because damn. Seriously, go buy this now and then come back and see this part. I know you're not gonna, but please, please. Ray blows Deacon's head off, tells Gary to sod off, and has Wills call the last number from Deacon's phone to make sure the deal is still on. Ray then tells Callahan how sorry he is about his wife. Then we get an epilogue with Toni on the phone with Alice. Jane's murder is placed on a break-in gone bad. Deacon's murder was supposedly a mob revenge hit from one of his past cases. Temple is just keeping her mouth shut since her family's on the list. Callahan, well, he has nothing anymore. He can't do anything to hurt the men that killed his wife. Only Toni and Ray can hurt them now. But Toni and Ray aren't talking. She can't see her dad. She was in his mind when he killed Deacon, and there's just so much there. And so the series ends with Toni staring at her reflection, seeing herself, her father, and the last panel is that of the Reaper staring at the reader, Finn. I don't swear a lot in these, but since this is a UK book, I'll go a little into the watershed stuff. Holy shit! So first, the last issue. Does it wrap everything up well? It wraps the investigation side of the story up very well, I think, with an ending that isn't happy even remotely, but it reflects not only the world within the comic, but a harsh truth of reality as a whole. Now, I know there's going to be some people who feel the ending is a bit rushed, and honestly, I can't blame them, but honestly, where else could it have gone to be satisfying? I know I went into a diatribe for issue 4 about how Tony's the good person in this, as is Callahan, and Ray was the best answer to get rid of the person working for the big bad, basically just taking the asshole out of the equation. Then again, it was just satisfying to see Deacon get his comeuppance. So yeah, where else would this have gone? The plot ended the moment that the files were to be buried in favor of making the Wednesday Club inactive. Yet, I think that is probably the best place to end this. As I said, the plot ended with a harsh truth about reality. Bringing the Wednesday Club to standard justice, plain and simple, was the altruistic mentality. The idealistic view of the world where there is absolutism. The law and justice go hand in hand, and the worst things that come to light can be vanquished. Then again, if left unchecked, the Wednesday Club would continue their power hold, and things would maintain the way they were, with people being taken and veritably sacrificed for the greater good. So like many of the darkest parts of society, compromise had to happen to keep the world spinning. Compromise had to happen to keep the world spinning, while also making it a little bit better. It's a hell of a moral to this story, if there's actually meant to be a moral in this at all. As for the final page of the book, I like the ambiguity of it. Tony shows that she has a bit more control over the second sight when she was jumping in her father's head, but she was in her father's head when he killed Deacon. She got to feel her father's total fragmented mentality and even touched the true horror of the Reaper. Like, legitimately, I truly hope Second Sight gets a second volume, that maybe instead of dealing with the Wednesday Club, we may have a copycat for Reaper going around, and it becomes this twisted mess where Tony thinks it's her dad, Ray's having visions that maybe it is him, and things are just able to really dart down the rabbit hole of the mindscape a bit more. It's a unique enough concept that it could really continue very well. And yes, I'd love to be the one to write it, but that'll never happen. So as a whole, this series is a fantastic read through and through. While I did gloss over what probably makes this a lot better of a series, which is the dialogue and littler interactions between characters, that's what makes it flourish. It is a must-read that I can only give even half justice in summarizing. So, hot damn, this was a great series to start off Aftershock month, but we are nowhere near close to being done. Tomorrow, we begin a very different book than this, Dreaming Eagles. See you tomorrow. Don't forget to like and share this video around and subscribe to my channel. Check out my other two channels, Comic Archivist and ComicSins. Become a patron to get to choose the next comics we do for a comic a day. And as always, stay golden, Inklings.
Psycho killer on the loose again, demented brain in constant pain. Secret life.